Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill. Joining me today are Graham Noble, Dave Patterson, Michelle White, and Andrew Moran. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. The Australians are leaving a well-marked trail for the rest of us to follow when it comes to the protection of minors under the age of 16. The latest in a series of what some call drastic measures stems from state and federal efforts that align with the safe and supported national framework for protecting Australia's children. It's a long-term strategy to reduce child abuse and neglect. So what have they done? Well, the country is introducing the first worldwide ban on underage kids to include TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's kind of drastic. So, Michelle, is this another whack-a-mole in the making? Or are we going to have one ban and then somebody else will pop up with a VPN or some other way around the hole?
Well, hopefully not. I think they do serve as an example. I am clearly not a big fan of big government intruding into personal spaces or parental spaces for that matter. But in this instance, the harm is so great. And as you said, it's so pervasive. Some parents don't put up guardrails or don't know how to put up guardrails. So I think it is necessary. I did see, don't quote me, but I know there was another European country that followed suit and they were restricting but not forbidding social media for teens. I think it's necessary. I watched a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing about 2 years ago now where my favorite part of it was Senator Josh Hawley grilling the CEOs of the social media heads, and they had members of families in the audience with pictures of their kids who had committed suicide or who were exposed to bullying or sexual exploitation on social media. And he grilled Zuckerberg and asked him how he apologize to these families. And he ended up doing that, turning around and apologizing. He said, he invited him, you could turn around and do that now.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
I'm sorry for everything that you've done. No one should have to go through the things that your families have suffered.
It was a great soundbite. And he did. He apologized. But what was most astounding in this hearing is that Holly brought the receipts that Facebook already knew about the numbers of how many kids are exposed to nudity, sexual exploitation, bullying, and they did nothing about it. So if the government has to step in to do that and keep it out of their reach, I hate to say it, but in this instance, it might be necessary. Just like we don't give them driver's licenses till they're 16, or we don't let them have alcohol till they're 18. You know, the brains are not finished developing until they're 25. So what they see, hear, and take part of in these early years, these teenage years when they're still developing, can be detrimental for life. And then on the other side of that, AI, I've seen at least 2 stories of kids that have committed suicide, and AI helped them. And the parents didn't know about it until it was too late. So I do think that Australia is doing the right thing in this situation. But they also take guns away from people. So I don't think they're right all across the board. I hope it does start a trend because I think it's too hard to get a handle on. So there needs to be some guardrails in place.
Well, personally, I agree with Michelle. I don't like the government parenting our kids. But what good will come of this, Dave?
Well, I think that the challenge in policing of the policy is going to be exactly that, policing the policy, because it puts the obligation on the media platform, the provider, and no specific methodology is mandated. So it's kind of like, we want you to do this, but we don't know exactly how you're going to do it, but we expect you to do it effectively. And, Australia's e-safety commissioner is supposed to enforce the ban and supposed to prioritize the platforms where the highest number of underage users are involved. And but again, compliance is left up to the companies that own the platforms. And so in the unlikely event, I think that they should catch an offending company. The fines are pretty substantial. I mean, they're $33 million for the first offense. But the standard that they have to meet is a low bar. I mean, reasonable efforts have to be made. Well, what constitutes reasonable?
Reasonable.
Define reasonable. Is that what you're telling me?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so how are you going to do that? But as of mid-December, reports are that millions of underage accounts were suspended, and what they've experienced in that short period of time is that a vast majority of the children have found workarounds like using VPNs and fake details that are where they're able to get around the ban.
Well, I want to know where, the phones come into play. I mean, is that going to be part of the ban? Because that's where you're getting some of these blackmail sexting things that are going on. Graham, I mean, what's your take on this?
Well, I think, I'm kind of very much aligned with Michelle on this one, is because I'm probably like the rest of you here on this panel. I am very much opposed to government stepping in and banning pretty much anything, really. And I have my own theory that social media's days are numbered, to be honest, and that's probably a good thing. But social media itself is so dreadfully damaging to young people. Let's say anyone, I think, under the age of probably mid-20s even. I think social media has a horrendous idea, and it should be the parents who are actually policing this, but of course they're not, and it's not even easy for them to do so. If their child has a cell phone, then how do they actually stop that child using one or more social media platforms? So it is a horrendous thing. I just don't understand how the Australian government thinks that they're going to manage to police this. Coming back to what Dave said about they're expecting kind of a reasonable effort on the part of social media platforms. Well, as Dave asked the question, what does that even mean, a reasonable effort? I mean, it would be easy for these social media platforms to say, you know what, we tried. I mean, we had little boxes pop up on your screen when you come to our site, and it says, click here.
Are you 18? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you do that, when I go online to buy ammunition, I'm going to the Sportsman's Guide site or whatever, and a little box pops up and says, you have to be over 21 to access this site, and I just click the little button that says, yes, I'm over 21, and I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, if that's reasonable, then they've got a lot of work to do ahead of them.
Oh, yeah. So that was mean. I think AI is actually going to kill social media. Now, for me to explain how that's going to happen is a whole other segment, probably.
So, Andrew, you want in on this? You got kids. I mean, and you got young kids. I mean, are you worried about what's going to happen when they're old enough to, sneak off to the library and look up porn?
Why is it the first thing that comes to your mind is they're going to look up pornography? Jesus, Louise. That's not a good enough in my
They
kid.
could. They said they could. Not put them.
They could also use the library for research and AI research. But okay, I'm leaving the contrarian here.
Or research or.
The main purpose of libraries these days is for homeless people to get a good night's sleep, I think.
Oh boy. All right. Okay. So when you say, I don't like government, but I don't like government doing this, but that is the beginning of the erosion of even more of your liberty. That's what the government does. There's always some group, some individual says, I don't like big government, but. So I don't support this idea. I think it's foolhardy. There was a clip recently, and Dave I made a mention of this. There was a clip recently of Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, I think his name is, and he was talking to a young girl who was on her phone, and they asked her, "Oh, what do you think of this social media ban?" And she just laughed in his face and said, "Yeah, it's worthless because we can use all these different maneuvers to access these websites, and they can use VPNs or Graham said, the fake IDs." But his response was quite ignorant. He said, "Yeah, we'll stop those too." But the young whippersnappers, they are savvy. They are tech savvy. They know how to circumvent all these bans, all these restrictions. And what's stopping any entrepreneur from establishing any social media alternative? And if you look at the list of what's banned, it's ridiculous because you're banning X, you're banning Facebook. But the ones that are omitted from the list are things like Discord and Telegram. Has anyone ever used Discord? That is an area for sex trafficking and engaging in nefarious methods. So if you want to ban X, which is a terrific website, it's transformed into an excellent outlet, then you should also be banning things like Discord. Or if you want to go even further and you want to prevent kids from being exposed to such content, why don't you ban Netflix? Have you seen the content that's generated on Netflix too? It's up to the parent, no matter how stupid this father or mother is, it's up to that person to impose the safeguards to ensure the children are not exposed to this nonsense. It's not up to the government, because when people concede their liberty for something as inane as social media, what's to stop from taking the next measure? We talk about our brains. Yes, we all agree social media is horrible for you. It's horrible for your brain. It doesn't, your brain doesn't, as Michelle alluded to, it doesn't mature until you're 25. Some new studies said perhaps even 33, but regardless. But we send 18-year-olds off to war to fight a regime change war. So why are we still worried about social media? And when I say these things, I'm always looking at Dave's response. I see Dave was shaking his head.
What I found interesting in this whole discussion is that Australia, apparently, they may have in some way, but that is not their primary focus, to have public service announcements focused on parents. And it's their responsibility. It's not some company's responsibility. It's the parents' responsibility. Now, I realize that there are a lot of irresponsible parents, but nonetheless, that doesn't take away from the fact that the only people who are with their children 24/7 are the parents. And they do have an obligation to police what their kids are doing. It's not up to everyone else in some sort of corporate sense to do that.
I would agree with both of you. However, we're not sending 13-year-old girls off to war, and they are exposed to nudity and pornography and sex trafficking at the more mild social media channels that we just discussed. So, and there were a lot of terrible parents out there that give their kids a phone, give their kids access to the media, which is a gateway to all of those ills and harms. And there's no way to stop them. I think it's like, giving your kid a driver's license. That's a lethal weapon. I think social media is far more dangerous to children than giving them a driver's license to drive a car. And we know that the government does have some regulation of that. And I totally agree with you, Andrew. You open the door a little bit to the government, and then they swing it wide open, or they push it wide open. But I don't see any other way around this when we have irresponsible parents and we have social media channels that are looking to make money and profit off of kids. So I don't see any other way around it. I think you need a kitchen sink approach. You have to get parents involved. You have to do PSAs. You have to teach them about the ills. You have to have no phones in schools. And it has to be an all throw everything at it, or these kids that's going to be the next generation.
If you want to talk about irresponsible parents, what about kids who feed their kids Cheetos and Lucky Charms? Right. You gotta ban that too.
That too.
we gotta wrap this up. And I wish Australia some good luck. I'd like to see something happen that's positive when it comes to kids and social media.
Right.
But the next visit to the swamp probably ought to let Donald Trump know if it's working or not. We're still dealing with several pressing crises and would like a sure thing if possible. Thanks for tuning in, folks. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. A special thank you to Lisa K. Donner, Scott Cosenza, and Michelle White for picking up where I left off on C5. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform: YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all as well. Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Stop by to see our new aggregate polling operation, The Public Square. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today, and get your fix of free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com.